Psalm 109:21-25, a plea for God's mercy. Psalm 109:21, But you, O God the Lord, deal with me for your name's sake, because your mercy is good, deliver me. While they use horrible anathemas against David and consign curses, David pleads for God to exert his power on the petitioner's behalf, that in God's justice and deliverance, he seeks refuge for himself and does so without boasting but in humbleness, pouring out his complaint to the Lord, referencing his despondent condition, which gives an advantage to the enemy's ability to add insult to his injury. His faith is in Jehovah the Lord, who is the source and foundation of all true spiritual blessings. Psalm 109:22, I am afflicted and impoverished, and my heart is wounded, my very life is sinking through distress. The unsubstantiated slander that his pitiless enemies hold, afflicted him to the heart and soul of his being, forcing him to cry out to the Lord, with a sense of urgency for God's supernatural intervention. Psalm 109:23-25, I am gone like a shadow when it lengthens, I am shaken off like a locust. 24 My knees are weak through fasting, and my flesh is feeble from lack of fatness. 25 I also have become a reproach to them, when they look at me, they shake their heads. I have been reduced to a mere evening shadow cast by the setting sun and quickly vanishing, or like the locust powerless, blown about by the breeze that carries the swarms, they are agitated, colliding with each other. Forlorn by the long persecution his heart has endured, the psalmist finds himself feeble and in sore need of divine pity, imploring the Lord to come quickly before he is gone under. Desperately the psalmist resorted to a religious exercise of fasting to the extreme that it brought on a debilitating weakness in his knees. This, by the way, gives the narcissistic slanderer his power over the sensitive victim, who is so distressed that he is unable to even eat. Emaciation often follows deep and sustained sorrow. Prophetically paralleling the psalmist account to that which Jesus suffered, in both instances, the righteous man became the theme of ridicule, making them the very subject of ridicule as well as the subject of their vulgar lampoons. David writes that this is how he was treated by Shimei, 2 Samuel 16:5-6. In a similar attack, perhaps we can remember the passage in Matthew 27:39 where Jesus was suspended on the cross and the antagonistic crowd that passed below were yelling insults at him, shaking their heads. Words were not a sufficient expression of their scorn, they resorted to gestures which were meant both to show their derision and to irritate his mind. Our Lord Jesus became a reproach to them. It will benefit us to take a moment and review the passages in Matthew 27:35-54, after crucifying him they divided his clothes by casting lots. 36 Then they sat down and were guarding him there. 37 Above his head they put up the charge against him in writing, This is Jesus the King of the Jews. 38 Then 2 criminals were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. 39 Those who passed by were yelling insults at him, shaking their heads. 40 And saying, The one who would demolish the sanctuary and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. 41 In the same way the chief priests, with the scribes and elders, mocked him and said, 42 He saved others, but he cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. 43 He has put his trust in God, let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, I am God's son. 44 In the same way even the criminals who were crucified with him kept taunting him. 45 From noon until 3 in the afternoon darkness came over the whole land. 46 About 3 in the afternoon Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, that is, my God, why have you forsaken me? 47 When some of those standing there heard this, they said, He's calling for Elijah. 48 Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge, filled it with sour wine, fixed it on a reed, and offered him a drink. 49 But the rest said, Let's see if Elijah comes to save him. 50 Jesus shouted again with a loud voice and gave up his spirit. 51 Suddenly, the curtain of the sanctuary was split in two from top to bottom, the earth quaked, and the rocks were split. 52 The tombs were also opened and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. 53 And they came out of the tombs after his resurrection, entered the holy city, and appeared to many. 54 When the centurion and those with him, who were guarding Jesus, saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they were terrified and said, "This man really was God's son." HCSB. Consider another parallel in the Messianic Psalm 69:7-12, "For I have endured insults because of you, and shame has covered my face. 8 I have become a stranger to my brothers and a foreigner to my mother's sons. 9 Because zeal for your house has consumed me, and the insults of those who insult you have fallen on me. 10 I mourned and fasted, but it brought me insults. 11 I wore sackcloth as my clothing, and I was a joke to them. 12 Those who sit at the city gate talk about me, and drunkards make up songs about me.